Hello, good morning. I'm Marianne Béard. I'm a French TV critic, a member of the French TV Critic Association. Today we're going to talk about creativity and about comedy, and about comedy getting serious with three guests. We have Pernille Bech Christensen. She's an executive producer from Denmark, and she works for TV2 Denmark. We have Lydia Hampson, producer for Two Brother Pictures, from UK, and Pieter Van Huyck, head of script TV at deMensen from Belgium. We're going to start by talking about each of them shows, and then we're going to see clips, and then we're going to have a conversation about that comedy getting serious issue. So Pernille, you come from Denmark, and usually what we get from Denmark are beautiful Nordic noir series. So you are coming to comedy right now.
Yes, I mean, it's true. That's what we are known for abroad, Scandi noir. And we really feel like we need to push those boundaries. A lot of other countries have started doing wonderful noir, maybe not Scandi, but other kind of noir. So we really wanted to explore comedy, or rather dramedy. The show that we're going to talk about here is a dramedy, and it's 8 times 26 minutes. It's called Splitting Up Together. And it's about Martin and Maria, that they decide to get a divorce. Maria more willingly than Martin. And we have this problem in Denmark. I'm sure you have it other places as well. The housing market collapsed. So Martin and Maria bought their house for much more money than they can actually get back now. So they have to wait for the prices to rise. So they have to make the divorce living in the same room or living in the same house. So they make this arrangement where they stay in the basement 1 week, and then on the first floor the other week, and have the kids.
Okay, I understand the show is a very personal show for the creator.
It is. It is. It's a personal story for her. She got divorced herself, like I think it's 8 years ago, and of course this is not her story only. It's a combination of all kind of stories that she met, and she has this saying that tragedy, if you add years to that, it can become comedy.
And what amount of her experience she put in her writing? What kind of discussion you had with her before?
But shouldn't we see the clip first, or what?
Yes,
I think.
of course.
I would just say one thing before. I mean, she was very inspired also by an article that was based on Danish statistic that said that in Denmark we now have 37 ways of being a family.
So, Pernille, tell us a little bit about what she brought in the show, about the experience and the talks you had before deciding to do the show with the creator.
I didn't understand that.
Tell us about how much she put of her own experience in the writing and the creating process.
Well, as I said, it is. I mean, it takes it takes a start in a personal experience. And we knew that having to deal with some of these serious aspects, we had to fold it into humor. But it's a very, very delicate balance, because it was also very important for her and for us that the audience also felt and could be sad with the characters. They shouldn't just laugh. They should actually feel that they were real characters. So that was very important, to keep it on a level where it was not like superstars. Everybody should be able to identify. I mean, and everybody kind of dealt with divorce in one way or another, either by themselves or families or friends. So it's a topic that everybody has some kind of experience in.
Okay, thank you. So Lydia, you are the producer of Fleabag.
Yes.
Before being a show, it was a one-woman show. It comes from theater. Would you say it's about the everyday life of a woman?
It is about the everyday life of a woman, but it's where it actually started from in the theatre show was about Phoebe, who's the writer and the creator and plays Fleabag. She felt that there was a kind of saw lack of roles for strong female voices, and that the roles that she was playing were kind of foils to a male lead. And so she wrote a character which was everything that she wanted to play. So that kind of, whether it be really bawdy and rude or explicit or incredibly honest or very sad, all the things that you do feel as an everyday woman, but that you don't hear about on television because that tends not to be the voice that's presented.
What was the challenge for her to make this show from a theatre piece?
Well, I think there were sort of two main challenges in the sense that, obviously in the original theatre piece, because it was a one-woman show, she played every single part. So the first challenge was for her to be able to write those voices out into other kind of walking, talking, feeling characters that other actors could embody, and to kind of give that creative freedom over to another actor to be the voice. And then I think the second part was, it was an hour-long show, so to translate it into 6 kind of 24, 25-minute episodes was a challenge in taking what were the key parts of that hour-long theatre piece and how to maintain the kind of thematic arcs across a whole series. And there were other characters that brought in, and some characters didn't make it. So, it was a tricky period.
The tone stayed the same?
The tone was totally the same. Yeah, the tone is. This probably is a good time to show the clip. The tone is. It is quite explicit, but I always defend that by saying I'm not sure it's that rude. It's really rude, but if you look back at other UK shows like, for example, The In-Betweeners from several years ago, which I love, which is 4 teenage boys who really, they talk explicitly about their sex lives or their non-existence of their sex lives. And I think Fleabag does the same thing, but because she's a woman, it maybe caused more kind of, there were lots of waves coming off that we hadn't seen that before. But I think that's partly because she's a woman.
Just to follow up, it was, some even consider it as a feminism statement. What does she think about that? What do you think as a woman?
I think, I think Phoebe feels the same way as I do about it, which it is a feminist statement in the sense that it's a strong female lead character behaving in a way that might typically be deemed kind of a male fashion. She has multiple sexual partners, she swears, she drinks, the kind of tropes that you might associate with a kind of male sitcom lead. But it's also, I know that Phoebe kind of didn't set out to write a piece of feminist theatre when she wrote the original play, but was totally thrilled to be associated with the label. But there's a quote in the first episode where she turns up on her dad's doorstep and she says, I think I have a terrible feeling I'm a bad feminist, and reels of all these things that she's worried that she is, one of them being this bad feminist. And that comes from this sense of not knowing what the rules are of feminism. There's all these kind of things of, if you're a feminist, you must dislike porn, and you mustn't do that, and you must do this. And actually, when she wrote the play, it was at a time of feeling like, but is it not just that I want the same rights that are afforded to men to be afforded to women? Like, how does that affect all these other things? What are the rules? What if I'm not doing it right? And so I think it's that feeling kind of more than anything else.
Okay. Pieter, you are the head scripted of deMensen, Belgium. So your show is called Tiger Chocolate. That's a French-English Belgium way of saying it. I'm doing my best. You describe your show as a romantic road movie in 7 episodes. Can you explain us what that would be?
Yeah, so it's not a comedy show. It's a drama, 7 episodes. And it's in fact a romantic road movie. It's about a young man who finds a new job. On the job, falls in love with a girl. They start a relationship. But that girl turns out to be originally from Kosovo. And she is sent back to her country. And then our main character decides, together with some friends, to go on a road trip to Kosovo to find his girl and bring her back. So as I mentioned, it's not a comedy show, but I guess we used comedy elements to bring some heavy subjects to a broad audience, a family audience, because this show is meant to be aired in prime time on the biggest public channel.
So you were talking about heavy subject. What was the will? What was the will of that story you wanted to tell?
This is a love story.
Yeah,
it's about love and friendship, but of course it's about how people with Down syndrome can find their place in society, about these people wanting to be treated as adults and live the life of an adult. It's about refugees being sent back to their country. So this is not easy or hyper light. But I think especially the actors helped us to bring the comedy in the show. The writers never had the intention to write funny scenes or situation comedy or anything, but these actors are first of all very talented, but also brutally honest, and I think that's something maybe all of us lack. And maybe this is also what also goes for your shows, being more explicit. So, but these actors, I mean, if they like you and then they've never met you before, they like you, they will start hugging you. If they hate your clothes, they will tell you. And that is, it confronts you, but of course it's very funny too. And so what we did was start to rehearse with them very, very, very early in the writing process. And all the things that happened in rehearsal, all the surprises, all the gifts that the actors gave us, we included it in the new versions of the script. And also a lot of these things were funny or supposed to be funny. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it started with a theater company. Can you explain how it became the work of this theater became a TV show?
Yeah, we have a theater in Flanders called Theater Stap, working for decades now with these actors. And it's a professional theater. And they also do pieces where these actors act together with normal actors, even big stars, at least big stars in our country. So they're used to act, and the director of this theater, the creative director, together with a documentary maker that we know, had the idea to make a drama series with these actors. So we said, okay, that's a good idea, and started writing. And what was interesting was that other people, people where we went to ask for money to invest, for instance, they had, of course, they doubted the talent of these actors to be able to shoot a fully fledged normal drama series where the actor has to repeat the same lines, the same scenes, has to be attentive to technical things. So everybody told us, you should let them improvise and shoot it with 3 cameras and then try to edit the story out of it. But we learned that if we went into rehearsal with them very early and created characters that were like very, very close to these real people and also included what just happened improvising in rehearsal in the script, they were able to repeat it. So that's the way that we managed to shoot this series. And I must say, the difference with other shootings, was not that big in the end.
Okay, so you're maybe not really a comedy, but you use comedy to tell your story. All of those projects are dramedies. Would you see yourself like that?
Yeah, I mean it's yes, it's a dramedy, and as I said early on, the difficult thing was to balance it right. It should be bittersweet, but how do you present it to the audience so they know what they're going to watch? Especially since it was not a format that we'd done before. So that was a big challenge to work with that. And we were gonna air it at 8 o'clock, which is our start prime time, but we have to move it later on till 8:45 because there is a lot of sex in it, and it just didn't work with smaller children.
I heard. I guess there was a special scene that was an issue.
Actually, there were 2 scenes because I mean, since Maria has this problem that she hasn't had sex for 2 years, there is going to be a lot of talk about sex, and there was 2 scenes. One was the masturbation scene that is actually in here, which we talked a lot about, and it couldn't be too explicit. And then there was the other scene, which is the spray orgasm or whatever it's called, and it was, both of those scenes were in the beginning. That's first scene of the show, and we kind of had a discussion with that, and at least we make a compromise where the spray orgasm moved further down. We didn't want to take it out because there was a lot of, I mean, it isn't made for just shocking. She had very good reasons for wanting that scene in the show. So the compromise was that it was not going to be the first scene. The other one is actually the first scene.
Lydia, your show starts really funny, and then it shifts slowly to darker issues really and maybe loneliness and the incapacity of connecting with a man or a love interest.
Yeah, so it's kind of the pilot episode is probably the funniest. It's, you know, she gets into scrape, she never stops moving, but as we get on, she's been keeping up this pretense the whole time that she's fine. So she talks to the camera and she says to you, I'm fine, I'm fine, what are you worried about? And then as the mask begins to slip, you kind of think, she's not fine. Clearly she's not fine. And the camera sort of acts as at the beginning, she makes us complicit in her activities, even if we don't want to be. You know, she might say something outrageous and then look at us like we agree, and we don't agree at all. And then as we go on and the cracks start to show, she tries to push the camera away, and not to let us in on what's happening, because to lose that bravado is her kind of ultimate fallibility. And so we, through that, kind of managed to explore the much darker topics in the show of kind of death and betrayal, and Fleabag is incredibly lonely and will never let you know that, and it's only at the very end that you kind of see her totally broken. But we had to use the comedy to get there, because otherwise you're kind of just throwing bleak themes at an audience and expecting them to kind of resonate without having built up the relationship first. So Phoebe's approach to writing, which I always quote, is tickle, tickle, punch. If you can make an audience laugh, then they're kind of opened up to you and they're more vulnerable. So then they're not going to expect it when you punch. And then we kind of deliver this really sad, bleak tale. But you didn't notice that was what happening, hopefully, because you were too busy laughing.
And in your case, it was different because it was really more of a drama. Those comedy elements, they were not only spontaneous. Did you work on those, on the pace, on to get the audience engaged more in the story with those heavy subjects?
Well, really, most of it really came out of the actors. For example, one of the gang of 5 guys, he's a very structured guy, almost autistic. He likes rules and things to go as said before, and so when something's changed, he can be very stressed, but also he gets mad. So what happened in rehearsal, this guy, his name is Cedric in the series, something happened during rehearsal when they were rehearsing with the big guy playing the director of the factory, the chocolate factory, and he's really a big star in Belgium. He was one of the most famous and important theater and television actors. But he changed something during rehearsal. I don't remember what, and then Cedric, he became very mad, and he said, what did he say? I had never expected something like this from you. You should be ashamed. Very, very angry. So this line ended up in the script, and he could play it like this. And it's nice to see that when things turn around, you know, when the Down syndrome guys are smarter. Another example, we have an actor called Pieter Janssens, and he's like a very creative guy. We call him he's like the jazz player of the gang, and he's always joking with everybody. So a situation that really happened in the theater behind the scenes also became part of the script. What is the story in the script? The workers should be packaging chocolate, but they start to play, and they start to play with a ball in the factory, and then the boss comes in, and he's of course very mad because a lot of orders has to leave the factory, and said no playing on the work floor anymore, give me that ball, it's finished. And then the guy that was playing, Peter, he starts crying and hugs his boss and saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And then the boss, he turns soft and says, okay, it's okay, just don't play anymore, it's okay. The boss leaves the room, and the guy goes like, so he just fooled him. Everybody's laughing, and that's just what these guys do. This is not a scene that is created by the writers. It just happened. And all these things were included in the script, and then the bonus is that these actors really like to play this because they exactly know the emotions behind this.
Okay, Pernille, a strong voice seems to be an essential component of such a show.
Always. I mean, we are strong believers in one vision to a certain degree, but no, it's very important that there is a personal voice there, that there is a story that really wants to be told. And it's the same with, like in your shows, it becomes more and more serious throughout the 8 episodes. And I mean, and it's like, they're not supposed to ever get close to each other again. It is an investigation into a divorce. And it's about how they move on to other places. And through that, of course, there are very low periods.
In Fleabag also, I mean, because it's really funny at the beginning, but the fun works because she knows what she wants to tell, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think she doesn't want to tell you that she's not okay underneath it all. So actually, the funniness probably comes from her hiding it and and what she gets up to hide it, like, you know, the boys that she meets and the times that she remembers being with her friend who's now died, and it's kind of the comedy is in the tales that she's spinning, even though we begin to see that she's the most unreliable narrator at the centre.
It seems to be, both of you, a really good place to be for women writer comedy. This time period, I mean, there are a lot of actresses who come from one woman show, get their own shows, and try and tell their own stories.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for comedy because that's all I've made. But I think what it did in this case is it's such an authored piece, and having come from being a one-woman show, that kind of truly kind of singular voice that dictates the whole thing is a really amazing tool for anyone, and in this case it happens to be a woman, and I think that's, you know, really important. There really aren't enough female voices on television yet.
And maybe because you're working with heavy subjects and a delicate matter, strong voice was not even an option, not to have a strong voice.
We never thought about a strong voice. They were just writers with an idea and the actors. I think what is important, and yeah, it's the difference maybe between dramedy and comedy, is that you understand as a viewer what is at stake, and you rely with it. It's really important. So you really care what will happen with the characters. In some comedy shows, this is not the case or less the case. So I think this is a good thing because it's about the character, the story, the problems, and the way they try to solve their problems, and you really care. If you combine that with comedy, it's really nice to watch. But if it's not funny for 1 minute, it's no problem because you still really care for the story and you are emotionally involved. These are like real characters. So I think that's the most important thing, that you really can, that you care about what the stakes are for the main characters. This is of course not an exclusive thing for dramedy, it's maybe for all drama, but I think this is maybe the added value to comedy when you make dramedy or when you make a drama show with comedy elements.
Okay, Pernille, to talk about splitting up together, I was wondering, the constant balance you had to do between comedy and drama must have made the development process a little bit harder, maybe some discussions, how far can we go, what?
I mean, it's always, and you read something, and of course we have talks about the script, but it's in my head how it will be, and then there is a director, also in this case a female director, and she had her own ideas about the materials as well. So of course it changes through the different processes, and it actually ended up quite a bit darker than both the writer and we expected. So we had to deal with that and see how could we still be true to it, but get the balance right. So that we needed for sure to have the comedy elements there.
And what we talked a little bit, and you said that it could be confusing to the audience. How did you work for it not to be?
I am not sure we succeeded, actually. I still think they were confused. And I think that is the difficult things about that genre. And it's whether it's a serialized drama or it's a feature film. But when it works, it's wonderful. When you can cry and laugh with your characters. But we made a title sequence that was kind of giving us the comedy notion, but still, I mean, we tried all the elements we could put into it and wrap it in. We tried to communicate this is both. But I mean, we didn't get the numbers that we hoped for, and I'm sure it had something to do with that. it's difficult to get that balance right. I think it's a wonderful show, but the audience also have to get more used to it, maybe. It was the first one we've done.
Okay. In England, it's different because you have a lot of edgy comedy. And so the audience is used to that. But yet, when you develop, when you work with the creator, how do you balance the drama and...
Well, Phoebe actually started by writing all the things that made her laugh. So we started with the jokes, actually. And they were just mainly kind of things that... And it's not autobiographical at all, but, you know, things that she'd kind of had happened to someone that had become a kind of running joke. So we started with kind of jokes, and then really the themes that we wanted to address came through those jokes. So really loneliness and the friendship between the kind of strong female friendship relationship, and if there's a love story in there, it's probably the one between the two sisters, and the way that they kind of come through their troubles and then in again. So the development process was, I suppose, just maintaining the kind of narrative arcs through those kind of starting points of things that had made us laugh. And I suppose, I mean, because the story is as simple as this woman's life and her relationships, it's, in that sense, it's a totally returnable story. So it was quite kind of a kind of open process on where that might go, and we just mapped out really the kind of one arc for this series being about the death of her best friend and the repercussions of that. But because she's just she's kind of an every woman, I hope, Fleabag. So in that sense, you know, next season she'd just wake up and start another day. There wasn't a kind of set starting and end of that development in that sense.
For you, development was very much about rehearsal, because the material came from your actors.
Yeah, well, the story, not the story, but the themes and the funny parts came mostly from the actors, yes. The theme is, of course, falling in love and wanting to be together and maybe even start a family. This is really, I think, the most important thing in these people's life, because is it possible or not? Should we let them or not? Very difficult questions to answer. So they all struggle with it. They all long for it. And especially the actor who is playing Jasper, the main character, this is really a very important thing in his life. So he could act very close to his own emotions. The scene, the little thing that you saw in the trailer, that he says, I'm done with love. And my heart was broken several times. It really happened to him. And it really was heartbreaking. Yeah, this is a theme that comes from them. And of course, working with the director of the theater that is working with these actors for many, many years, of course, he knows perfectly what goes on in their hearts and head. So I think that's really what this story is built on. Yeah.
Your show hasn't been aired yet.
No, so this is a bit strange. Maybe everybody thinks it sucks. No, it will air next year in the big public channel in Belgium. Voilà.
Okay, time flies, so we have time for one last question. Do you think comedy helps? Comedy doesn't travel very well, and do you think mixing up with drama and dramedy will do better on the international market?
Yes, I'm sure it will. Dramedy will travel better than comedy, for sure. And this show has done very well internationally, and has been a social remake in America, which is a total surprise to us. But it's wonderful.
Yeah, same with us really. All three media did us an amazing deal with Amazon to take the show to America, and I think that, again, totally unexpected. Yeah. I think it is because of the universal themes that were being explored through comedy that weren't necessarily deemed comedy.
Well, we just started international sales 3 days ago here. But yeah, there's a lot of interest, and I think it's right. The emotions in dramedy are universal, so can travel more easy than comedy. And we have some interest from several countries, but especially for remakes, because I also think that producers and directors think it's very cool to try this and do something else with these kind of actors. So this is a bit of a they just are looking for the actors now. Normally you read the scripts, you discuss, you think it's nice, and then you buy an option. Now they first have to travel through their country and see if they find the right actors to do it. And when they do, maybe we can see some remakes. But it's a little bit too early to say now.
Okay, thank you very much, Pernille, Lydia, and Pieter. And